Okay, so I'm talking to one of Libby Gibson's friends, correct?
Yes.
Okay, what can you tell me about her situation?
Okay, so what I have heard recently here was that a friend of mine thinks that he might have seen her at the Johnson Creek Fred Meyer's in the parking lot not that long ago. Now, when I asked him what was said and the conversation consisted of, and did he see her face to face, like as person to person right there, he claims that he might have, but he's also older and has been through a stroke recently, so I don't necessarily know how much comprehension he was having at the time in his brain.
Uh-huh.
Because her bank accounts, have not been touched since 2022. And that's definitely not something that's normal. As well as when she left the apartment on Thanksgiving.
How do you know her bank accounts haven't been touched?
Oh, because it's her payee person. She was on disability, and so she has a payee that she was, a couple friends of ours actually have as a payee.
Uh-huh.
And that person was telling us that that's what they think is very odd, is that they haven't been contacted or anything for any money for her since that day.
Okay.
And so we're thinking, well, obviously she has to have money to live on, so what the heck, doesn't make sense why she wouldn't be calling them. And so that was definitely an odd thing. But the fact that she's also just missing. Nobody's ever found anything of her. So, it's just weird. Like, no one's heard from her. Her brother was looking for her. Just last year, I seen him posting on one of her Facebook pages, and I, commented on one of his little posts on her page, and I told him, I said, if you need anything or I can help in any way, let me know, because I loved her very much.
How long did you know her for?
I have actually known Libby for almost 10 years.
Really? How'd you meet her?
We actually met because I was homeless in the southeast area for a little while, and we were staying in a tent nearby each other.
Okay. Did you say you were with her the last time she was seen?
Yeah, it was a group of us, and she was at a friend of ours' apartment. We all had Thanksgiving dinner at.
What day was that?
It would have been, I don't remember the exact date. It was November, though, Thanksgiving of 2022. And it was evening, and right after dinner was all said and done.
How did all that go? How many people were there?
Oh, gosh, probably 10 or 15.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of a larger gathering. But that's where this Casper person, now, I've never met him prior to that, and I've never seen him again until you showed me that little clip thing. And that's definitely the same guy I've seen her leaving with.
Oh, so he was there?
Yeah, he walked out the door with her. He's the last person to ever have been seen with her.
And you said, and how did she leave? You said, how did all that happen?
She asked me for a cigarette, and so I gave her a cigarette. And I thought she was just going to go out front of the apartment and go smoke outside with the guys. And that's what it seemed like, because her purse with her cell phone, which she never left behind anywhere, was sitting on the couch where she had been sitting. And so I figured, okay, she's going to go outside and talk to this guy for a couple minutes. Whatever, not thinking anything of it. And then I think it was probably about 20 minutes after she walked out the front door, we realized clearly she wasn't just smoking a cigarette, but her purse and cell phone were still in the apartment with all of us. And that's very not her style of any ever before this. Like, she would never leave that.
Around what time did she leave?
I think it was around 5:30.
In the evening?
Yeah, we had ate a late dinner around 4 o'clock. Everybody had sat down with each other, did grace, and then ate dinner. And then she sat there for a few minutes after, and then that's when her and the guy left out the front door. This was on 122nd and Powell.
Okay. Whose house were they at?
A friend of ours, Vic and Tasha, was the couple.
Okay. And her so she left her purse and her phone, and she's never got it back. And then she left with Chance that night. And were they arguing or fighting when they were there?
No, but she didn't look very comfortable, I would say. Like, she didn't really know him. You could kind of tell that they weren't like super friendly. Because she was just like, you could tell when she met somebody she was like newer with, because she was kind of hesitant with them.
Was everybody there just eating, or were they drinking and doing drugs too?
They were doing drugs, and drinking was going on as well with some of them. And
what were the drugs that were going around?
Just regular meth.
Okay.
That was her drug of choice as well, usually.
Okay.
But I know that she didn't know the guy per se. She just recently met him at the time. I think she said she met him the day prior at that same apartment. And so that's why I didn't think anything of her going outside at first. But then when her purse and like I said, her purse and cell phone were sitting there for longer than what I thought was, smoking cigarette time. I go out the front door to go see if she's there, and she's nowhere, and neither is he. And no one's ever heard from her or seen her again.
Wow.
And I don't know what that would be, but I also know that...
Did they leave on foot?
Yes. Yeah, they were walking. Yeah, because I asked my friend Vic, who was the apartment belonged to, I said, did that guy have a car that he drove here, do you know? And he says, no, he doesn't have a car. So I thought, okay, well, then that means they're walking together somewhere. And that would mean that I would have thought, couldn't have gotten too far. So then another friend of ours takes off on his bike and tries to go up the street, up and down the road. And he said he couldn't spot him anywhere.
And this is 122nd what?
And Powell.
Okay.
Yeah, but at that time too, there was motorhomes, and all those types of things on the little side road areas where several people knew were living out of them. So I don't know if he had one of those per se that he might have taken her to.
Every time I've seen him over 7 to 10 times on the trails in the past 2.5 years, and he is always like, sometimes he looks like really drugged out and like really dirty, and then sometimes he looks really clean and wearing nice clothes, and you wouldn't even be able to tell he's homeless. He he changes his look a lot.
I had a friend of mine that told me about him because she had a run-in not that long ago with him, and she told me, she said, honey, he's a rapist. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she says, he tried to get me. And I asked her what that all entailed, and she said she was walking back to her camp over by the Johnson Creek area and was walking up that stretch of the bike path, and he came out of the bushes at her and tried to grab her.
Really?
And it scared the crap out of her. Yeah. Do
you know his real name?
I don't know his real name. She just said the nickname Casper.
Okay, and he goes by Chance now.
Yeah, which I don't blame him. I would have switched too, but there's several females I know out there that are kind of very leery of this Casper that they called him for the longest of time. And then my other friend in Louisiana, who's a man, he knows of this person too.
Okay.
And he thinks that that's who Libby got taken by as well. But he also calls him one of the 4 horsemen, which I don't know what that is.
Okay.
But I know that it can't be anything good, probably.
Yeah. Well, I really, is there anything else you'd like to say about her? I think you gave me the key information I needed about her last being seen and who she left with.
Yeah, and she's also, I will tell you this, she's mentally disabled. Okay, normally she's stuck at the mentality of a maturity level of like a 13-year-old. That's just how Libby always was.
So it's easy to take advantage of her mentally?
Yes, and especially if she was on drugs, it was easier. And unfortunately, I think that guy is just one of those who's a predator, and it's just, she was an easy target, I think is what that was entirely. Unfortunately. I mean, I loved her to death, and I don't wish that on her, but, I mean, it's been 3 years. I don't know where she could have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you telling me this stuff, and thank you so much, and I'm going to end the tape right now.
Okay, well, I have one more thing that I wanted to let you know.
Okay, I'll leave it going.
Okay, because you were talking to some people that were camped out by that Foster Bird Sanctuary Park thing over there?
Yep.
Okay, and you had mentioned that there were some girls that you said were found by the police, right? In that same park?
There's rumors of that.
Yeah, okay, so that was in 2015. I was actually parked in a camper up the road that I was living out of, and it was 13 females that were found in a mass shallow grave in the very back of that area. And I remember that very vividly. And they never said anything about this because they were homeless females, of course, and I don't think that they're quite done investigating whatever they were going to do with that, but there was no report on it really or of any kind, you know what I mean?
What year was this?
2015, and it was the middle of the summer.
At that bird sanctuary?
Yes.
On 122nd?
Yeah, is that what it is right there by the Foster U Pull It?
Yeah, the Foster U Pull It. Yeah, right. I think that's
Yeah.
122nd.
Yep, and it's right next to where the bike path crosses Foster right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you know any of the females?
I knew one, and I don't know how she was killed.
What was her name?
But as far as I know, her name was Trisha. She was a 24-year-old Russian girl. And she had an addiction to heroin at the time. And she told me she was working on 82nd a couple times. And I told her, you know, you'd be better if you had just got some help and got off of that kind of thing, because that's not somewhere you want to be working, I told her. And I just met her that day. I hung out with her all day. 2 days later, she was found with those other ones. So I don't know who got her or how that all went on after that, but, like, somebody killed her. Yeah, and she was such a sweetheart. And so young.
I appreciate you so much. I'm going to end this right now. I'm going to make sure this goes somewhere because this is information people haven't heard.